So the frequentist biostatisticians or statisticians approach has been given more emphasis and dominated the medical literature, But there is also another alternative which is said to be the Bayesian approach or the Bayesian thought. So, as I've said, there are two main thoughts or schools of statistics. The frequentist approach, which dominates the medical literature, as I have said, and this frequentist approach consists null hypothesis significance testing. And think of p-values and confidence intervals, According to the frequentist approach, we develop the null hypothesis, and in order to prove or disprove that null hypothesis, we are going to collect the data. And based on the data, we will calculate the p-value and the confidence interval. And finally, either we will accept or reject the null hypothesis based on the p-value and the confidence interval. So the thought of the frequentist approach is just develop a null hypothesis, and the purpose of collecting a data, doing the research work, is either to reject or to accept the null hypothesis. And the other way, or the second type of school of thought in statistics, is the Bayesian approach, which is governed by a scholar, the Bayesian theorem. And the Bayesian theorem is again actually named after the scholar who developed this theorem, the Bayes. So the fundamental difference between these two schools of thought is their interpretation of uncertainty and probability. The main difference in the Bayesian approach with that of the frequentist approach is in terms of the interpretation with the uncertainty and the probability. That is the issue, Now we'll just go in detail somehow to see the difference between the two. Now let's have a look at the frequentist approach. The frequentist approach assigns probabilities to the data, not to the hypothesis. Do you remember that, for example, a p-value, how do you interpret it? And what does that p-value mean? P-value is just defined in such a way, p-value is the probability of getting the observed data. That means the result which is obtained from the collected data, the probability of getting the observed data purely by chance if the null hypothesis were true. So that means p-value is the probability just attached to the observed data. So the frequentist approach assigns probabilities to what? To the data, not to the hypothesis. You see, the probability will be assigned to the observed data, or the probability of obtaining the data is this amount. That is the p-value is interpreted, in frequentist approach. Whereas the Bayesian approach assigns probabilities to the hypothesis. The probability of the hypothesis to be true is this much in Bayesian approach. In the frequentist approach, p-value is interpreted or defined in such a way, as I have said. The probability of getting the observed data purely by chance. So that we are talking about the probability of getting the observed data, the collected data in the actual research, So the probability is attached to the data. Given that, or provided that, if the null hypothesis were true. So that if the probability of getting the observed data purely by chance, if it is less, that means if it is less than 0.05, for example, that means the probability of getting the observed data, if it is 4%, for example, 0.04, the probability of getting the observed data purely by chance is only 4%. So the probability of getting the data to be real is 96%. So that since the observed data probability to be true is 96%, that is really surprising, then we are going to reject the null hypothesis. That means if the probability of getting the observed data to be true is much larger, so that it means it is true, So the null hypothesis will be rejected. That is the frequentist approach. But in the Bayesian approach, the probability will be assigned to the hypothesis, not to the data. Okay, furthermore, Bayesian models incorporate prior knowledge or prior information. That is said to be the prior probability. This prior knowledge or prior information will be obtained from either experience or from literatures or from prior evidences. So prior information will be incorporated into the model in the case of Bayesian information, but not in the frequentist approach. We only based upon the posterior probability. Based on the data collected, we will estimate the probability of obtaining the observed data purely by chance, based on only the collected data that we have in our hand. But in Bayesian analysis, it will incorporate prior knowledge or prior information or the prior probability into the analysis, so that updating the hypothesis based on the prior information or the prior knowledge, the hypothesis will be updated, you know. The probability for the hypothesis will be updated. So the posterior probability that will be predicted based on the combination of the two, the prior information and the collected data, will be used to update the probability of the hypothesis to be true or false in Bayesian analysis. So Bayesian analysis uses combinations of two information, the prior information and the current data, in order to estimate the probability of the null hypothesis to be true or false, you know. But in frequentist approach, we only use a current data in order to estimate the probability of the observed data to be true or false, not the null hypothesis. If the observed data with the data that we have collected is true, or if the chance by chance occurrence is less, and if the reality of the observed data is greater, then we are going to reject the null hypothesis. But that the probability is attached to the data, not the null hypothesis. So in Bayesian approach, the probability will be attached to the null hypothesis, and it incorporates both prior information and the current data in order to just estimate the posterior probability of the null hypothesis. Whether the null hypothesis is, so the probability of the null hypothesis to be true or false is this much amount, will be said in Bayesian approach. So the probability is attached to the data in frequentist approach, and the probability is attached to the null hypothesis in Bayesian approach, you know. Someone's sound is disturbing, please mute your sound, you know. Okay. So the difference between the two is the probability to whom it is attached. Is it to the data or to the null hypothesis? And the second, the incorporation of prior knowledge in the case of Bayesian analysis, but not in the frequentist approach. So frequentist statistics is all about probability in the long run. That is, the data set collected and analyzed is one of many hypothetical data sets. In frequentist approach, there are many possible data sets that can be collected, but out of them, one is collected, you know. So the data set collected and analyzed, the one that has been collected now and analyzed, is one of the many hypothetical data sets. Out of the many possible data sets, the one that is collected is the one. Addressing the same question, all these possible hypothetical data sets which could address the same question, out of them, the collected one is the one of out of them. Addressing the same question and addressing the same uncertainty is due to sampling error alone. Therefore, the variation of the result in the collected data will be simply only by sample-to-sample variation. If you, for example, collect the mean cholesterol level among certain patients in one hospital and in another hospital, so the variation in the mean cholesterol level is because of simply sample-to-sample variation or sampling error. That is the frequentist approach narration, you know. So frequentist inference starts or begins by assuming the null hypothesis to be true before the data is collected, you know. Before the data is collected, it is assumed that the null hypothesis is true. That means the null hypothesis will say that there is no effect of a particular treatment on a disease. So the null hypothesis will say there is no effect of a treatment on a certain disease or maybe survival. And it is assumed to be true. And this is developed before the data is collected in the frequentist approach. Then, in order to just measure the uncertainty and the probability, what investigators do is then the data will be collected, the collected data will be analyzed, and we will ask, how surprising is my result? That means how surprising is the observed finding in the collected data. If there is actually no effect on the treatment of no effect of treatment on the survival, that means since the null hypothesis says that there is no effect of treatment on survival, and if the finding obtained by the collected data is to the opposite of this null hypothesis, that means if there is a finding in the collected data which supports there is effect of treatment on survival, that will be surprising, you know. So that our result will be surprising and the null hypothesis will be rejected. Why our result is surprising? Because our finding is to the opposite of the null hypothesis, which surprises any readers, including the investigator. So that the null hypothesis will be rejected, and the result obtained from the collected data will be taken as a true or a conclusion. So the data would be surprising if there was a low probability by chance alone of obtaining another data set, at least as extreme. You see, if the finding of the collected data says there is treatment effect on survival, and if the probability of getting this treatment effect on survival is 0.03, only 3% chance, by chance alone, that means 93% the observed finding which is obtained from the collected data which says there is treatment effect is 97% it is true. Only the by chance alone occurrence of this result is only 3%. So that the observed finding is true. So if the observed finding is true, the one which was stated before the data collected, that means the null hypothesis should be rejected. So I am just trying to show you to which group is the probability assigned. The probability is assigned to the observed finding in the collected data in the frequentist approach. That probability is called the p-value, you know. Have you understood a p-value in such a way? So p-value is the probability of getting the observed finding in the collected data had it been the null hypothesis were true. If the null hypothesis were true and the by chance occurrence of our finding is only small, then our finding is true, so that the null hypothesis is going to be rejected. That is the frequentist approach. You know? Okay. If this is the case, then the collected data are considered unlikely under the null hypothesis, and we reject that null hypothesis, inferring that the null hypothesis does not adequately explain our data. the null hypothesis does not support the finding in our data. And the finding in our data is not obtained simply because of by chance. Because the probability of occurring by chance is too low. It is below 0.05. So that the null hypothesis does not support or explain or is not in line with the observed finding. Therefore, the null hypothesis will be going to reject. So that the no treatment effect will be rejected and the new treatment has an effect on survival which is observed in the collected data will be accepted, you know. So the probability of obtaining another data set, with the same sample size, with random selection, as extreme as the one which is collected in our hand now is known as the p-value. So p-value is the probability of obtaining another data set as extreme as the one observed in our finding. The probability of getting a result in another data set which will be collected in the future as extreme as the one which is found in the collected data set, in our data set, is this much. That is the p-value. The p-value, that is the frequentist approach. I'm sure you didn't have understood p-value in such a way previously, you know. So the p-value is often criticized for being misunderstood and misused in the field of medicine, you know, because people cannot understand in such a way. For example, in contrast to the popular belief, the p-value is not a measure of how correct the hypothesis is. Popularly, it is believed, people understood in such a way, you know. People understood that p-value as a measure of hypothesis. No, p-value is not a measure of hypothesis, you know. That is a wrong misunderstanding in medical literature. So p-value is not a measure of the hypothesis, nor it is not the measure of effect size of a treatment, you know. P-value is simply the probability of obtaining the finding or the result in the collected data purely by chance. That is only the probability of getting the observed finding. The finding which could say there is treatment, effect of treatment on survival. So that the probability of getting the result which says there is treatment effect on survival, getting by chance is this much. That is measuring the amount of probability of getting the observed result. So this is a measurement of probability of the observed result. That is the p-value. It is not the measure of the size of the importance of a treatment. It is not the measure of the effect of the treatment. If you are going to measure the effect of a treatment, you need to go for a calculation of beta coefficients, not for a p-value. P-value is a measure of a probability, the probability of getting that result purely by chance. It is measuring the probability of the result to occur by chance alone, you know. That is a p-value. We need to understand in such a way. There is a popular misunderstanding of p-value in the medical literature. And it is not also the measure of how the null hypothesis is correct. We are not going to measure how the null hypothesis is correct. Rather, we are going to measure how correct is the observed finding. So, in particular, large p-values do not provide evidence of no effect by itself. If we get a p-value of 0.9, for example, it does not indicate evidence of no effect. Rather, it is telling that the probability of getting my result purely by chance is 9%. The percentage of getting the observed result purely by chance. So the remaining almost 91% of the probability is real or true. But how can we believe that with a data result which occurs with a 9% of by chance, you know? So that a large p-value is telling that there is a large amount of probability that your result is occurring by chance. It is not a true result. It is telling me that, you know, if there is a large probability of the data to occur by chance, so that the occurrence of the data to be true in terms of percentage will be low, you know. So that is the p-value is telling us in frequentist approach. So a p-value is simply the probability of obtaining another data set at least as extreme as the one collected by chance alone in the collected data. That is it. Or simply we can say the probability of getting the observed data purely by chance is the interpretation of the p-value. Or the probability of getting another, if you are going to collect another data set again, the probability of getting another data set with a result similar with the one collected in our data set is amount of this much probability by chance. That is talking about. So the probability is attached to the data, not the null hypothesis in the frequentist approach. Or even the p-value is not attached to the size of the effect of the treatment, you know. Okay. For example, suppose we run analysis and get a highly significant p-value of 0.001. 0.001. Here it is. For our treatment variable. So how do we interpret this finding, this p-value? Formally, it should be interpreted in such a way, you know. There is a 0.1%, if you change this in terms of percentage, there is a 0.1% chance of collecting data equal to or more extreme than this result. If the result collected in the data set, for example, if it is the mean value of a cholesterol level, like 150, for example, if it is, if the mean cholesterol level in the collected data is 150, and the p-value is 0.001, so the p-value will be interpreted in such a way. There is a 0.1% of chance of collecting data, another data, to have a result equal to 150 mil-level of cholesterol level or more extreme than this result by chance if the null hypothesis were true. So that it would be surprising to collect this data if there is, in fact, no effect of treatment on survival, you know. So no treatment effect will be rejected. That is the null hypothesis. So if we had run the analysis and got again a p-value of, like, for example, 0.46, what does it mean? There is a 46% of chance of collecting data equal to or more extreme than this if the null hypothesis is true. So it would not be surprising to obtaining these results if there is no effect of treatment on survival, so that the null hypothesis will not be rejected because the observed data could happen by chance around 50%, 46%. So it is not surprising because our data is supported by the null hypothesis, no treatment effect, you know. Since observed data could occur by chance, because the by chance probability is almost 46%. So that chance, by chance occurrence could not be taken as a real finding, you know. So that the null value, the null hypothesis is now in line with the finding of our data. So this result is not evidence of no effect. It is not talking about whether there is effect or not. Rather, it is telling us the probability that the result could occur by chance. However, because the inference began by assuming there would be no effect of treatment, You see, the null hypothesis starts by saying there is no treatment effect. Even though the null hypothesis states that there is no treatment effect, we could not say finally there is no effect of treatment by having a look at on the p-value. We interpreted the p-value in such a way. The probability of getting the result by chance is this much. We could not say that there is no treatment effect, blah, blah things. That is a misunderstanding that is common in medical literature, you know. So the key here is that probabilistic statements like p-values can only be made about the data, not about the hypothesis or the parameter. It is not about the treatment, it is not about the hypothesis. Rather, the p-value is talking about the data, you know.